So here it is, the Rolex Yacht-master showdown with the Rolex Submariner.
So before we continue with our video, I'd like to ask for your support to subscribe to our channel, as we realize that only 1% of the people enjoying and watching our videos are subscribed. Thank you very much, and let us continue with the video right now.
Okay, so let's put up the specs for you to see on screen first. As you can see, the Rolex Yacht-master and also the Rolex Submariner, the case specifications, they're almost the same. Dimensions almost the same. And at first glance, if you look at both watches, they actually look very identical, and you will see a lot of the Submariner DNA on the Yacht-master. Of course, let me give you some background on the Rolex Yacht-master first. The Rolex Yacht-master came about around 1990 plus, I think 1997, and it was, I think, the initial purpose of this watch. I really do believe that when they designed the Rolex Yacht-master, they initially wanted it to be the new Submariner 2.0. Now, hear me out. If you look at it, it definitely has the Submariner DNA. However, Rolex in the 90s, knowing it's moving into a luxury brand and no longer a tool kind of watch, and they're moving up the luxury status of leather, they wanted to recreate the Submariner. But you know, being a Submariner and being the icon that it is, it's very hard to put it through. And I believe that at some point of time, Rolex probably thought that, you know, if they were to overhaul and discontinue the old Submariner and redesign the Submariner and call it a Submariner 2.0, two things will happen. Number one, that's not the Rolex way. If you notice, every time Rolex releases a new release, the old reference number is discontinued, and they normally do not have two side by side. Unlike very much like the Apple iPhone, for example, where the Apple iPhone has the older generation iPhone and the newer generation iPhone at the same time, coexisting in the models. But you don't have that with Rolex. That's not their style. And secondly, if they were to launch incremental improvements, and if you do see how Rolex does their thing, every time when they launch or relaunch, they always change very little about it. And I think Submariner was so classic and so iconic that when they were designing the Submariner 2.0, they just went ahead and say, hey, look, you know what? Let's just launch another line. Rather than make everyone upset, call it the Submariner as a tool watch. It was a tool watch. We want to launch an upscale version of it, and we will call it something else. We changed a few things about it. And to Rolex, it was quite simple. Look at the Yacht-master over here. What did they change? The bezel. Okay, first thing was the bezel. And they said, hey, look, if our watches are going to be luxury timepieces, luxury tool watches anyway, we might as well actually just make it in certain precious metals, but have it in this, looking like a steel format as well. Of course, the first Yacht-master that came out was a two-tone version, okay, with the gold tone bezel and the half-tone gold and yellow gold kind of look, which is really upscale. And it didn't really take off in popularity until they launched this model, which is the 16622 Rolex Yacht-master. Now this one, which was launched in the, I think, early 2000s and late 90s, was really iconic for Rolex because it looked like a steel version of the watch. Okay, a steel version of the Yacht-master and the Submariner, but it has this little touches of luxury. And I'm going to go through with you and compare them side by side so that you understand what's the difference between the luxury of this versus the Submariner. So let's talk about the main differences, which I believe is the case design. I'm going to bring it to focus here. And let's have a look at here, the side. So you got a high polish on the sides of the Rolex Submariner, and everywhere here is brush finished all around the case, even all the clasp. Of course, this is a newer generation clasp. You cannot compare it to this version here, but let's go through the case first. So if you look at the case, you got this ceramic bezel. One thing I do notice that really differs from the Yacht-master. Of course, the Yacht-master is not a dive watch. It has a bi-directional bezel. This one has a unidirectional bezel, but you do see that the clicks are absolutely amazing and very addictive to play with. And one of the things I really like about the Submariner is this bezel, the way it clicks, the way it feels. There is nothing like this in the market. They are the standard, the gold standard. I dare say that even Grand Seiko diving bezels and even Omega bezels, they come very close, but there's something very satisfying about the click of the Rolex Submariner. And even the Yacht-master, you don't have that kind of feeling. You get more of the GMT master feel. So you don't have the clickety feeling. You do have the beautiful feeling of it, and it lines up very well as well, but you don't have the clickety feeling. And that's one thing I miss, that I don't see it on Yacht-master, which I wish they had more of the clickety feeling, but probably, you know, you won't have the unidirectional bezel. So the other thing that you can see, besides everything here very purposefully designed, it's all brush finish everywhere, there is a comparison I want to show you here on this side here. I'm gonna try to highlight this to you, because if you see here the design here and the design over here, and we were to compare this with the Yacht-master, you notice that this is not that it's overly polished, but the original design of the Yacht-masters, it's actually like this. They are more rounded, there's more of a curve, there's more of an elegance to it. And I would say that that kind of elegance really does elevate the Yacht-master, and that's one of the reasons why I say this is actually a higher quality watch. And of course, if you see in the Rolex catalog as well, they do price this as a higher tier compared to the Submariner. It's because of this way, the way it curves, and the whole case design curves very well. You do have this part here, but it's more curvy, it's more luxurious in the feeling, you can tell, and together with the center polish links, so it gives this kind of flair. And of course, right here, the platinum bezel, it's absolutely stunning in the light as well. And of course, the platinum dial, platinum bezel, they play very, very well with the light. It looks absolutely stunning. I mean, wearing this in the sunlight, wearing this out there, it is a luxury piece anyway. You don't buy a Rolex, I believe, as a tool watch. And I certainly can tell you, this watch belongs to Nick. He definitely does not take this diving, okay? Anything closest to diving is probably going to the swimming pool. So honestly speaking, these are no longer dive watches. If you're going to go for real diving, you're probably going to have a, you know, digital diver watch or something that's not so precious such as this. But of course, you can. Okay, so that's one of the things you notice, the case size, and that's one of the things that I have the problem with the Submariner, and which is why I say the Rolex Yacht-master is so much better. Because if you look at this case design, you see this design in the Tudor Black Bay as well. So you see this side over here, okay, this part that protrudes out, and this part here that's very flat. It's very reminiscent of the Tudor Black Bay series, okay? And with the Tudor Black Bay series, I have the same problem. I'll have another video, which I'll do another time about it. But you can see with the Submariner, the way it's designed and the way it sits on the wrist is the problem. Okay, so this is how it sits on my wrist. I'm going to show it to you, and you can see how it is raised, and you get a bit of this raised thing, and you don't have that kind of elegance. And of course, with the super case design of this generation, of course the super case design makes it wear a bit larger, but because it's black, it doesn't wear as large. You don't have that feeling. But you do see, for smaller wrists or wrists that are not so large, you do see, because it doesn't hug downwards compared to a Yacht-master. Whereas if you see the Yacht-master, you see how it curves down? It is very much like a Rolex Daytona case. And this curved claw design, which is more rounded at the corners, is still sharp, mind you, but because it's more rounded, it hugs better on the wrist. And I find the proportion, even though this end link over here comes out this way, it does sit very, very well even on a smaller wrist. It has that wonderful shape, so you don't see that on a Submariner. Okay, so that's one of the main differences which I feel that puts the Rolex Yacht-master as more of a luxury, purposeful timepiece. If you're buying a watch, and I think most people are buying a Rolex because of, you know, they like the watch and they also want to have the inherent investment value or the prestige that comes with a Rolex, especially today, it's so hard to get a Rolex from a store. If you're gonna buy a luxury timepiece, my suggestion is go for the luxury timepiece. Go for the one that's designed like a luxury timepiece. And in the secondary market today, you can't even get the Submariner in a Rolex 80. You probably be waiting for years even, and you're gonna buy it off the pre-owned market. If you're gonna buy it off the pre-owned market, why not go for the Yacht-master instead? Go for the Yacht-master because they're priced about the same at this level, but you do feel that you get this luxurious feel about it. And even the case size, the way it wears, it's so much slimmer. And like I said, you do feel it. Even if you see here, this is a 40mm case size. If we were to put it side by side, you can already see how different, and the elegant design of it is totally different. And you can see for the purpose that it was built, the Rolex Yacht-master trumps it in every way. And of course you get the added date complication as well, so that helps. If we were to look at the class, of course the class is a letdown of the 16622 series, but the Rolex Submariner has the EasyLink extension. But honestly speaking, why do you need to use the EasyLink extension? For the owners of these watches, I don't think some of them even know how to use the EasyLink extension. And even if they do, trust me, I don't think it gets hot enough for them to actually use the EasyLink extension. That's my honest opinion. In fact, I have asked the owner of this Submariner, Nick, who is also a co-founder of 2SecondsWatch. He's never used the EasyLink. Okay, he never needed to. And I don't think, even though we live in the tropical weather, this is recorded, we live in the tropical weather such as Malaysia and Singapore, you don't get, even with the heat, we have never needed to use the EasyLink extension. Very, very rarely. Most of the time, it is fitting quite well already. I don't think your wrist can expand that much, but it would be very useful if perhaps you're going to wear it in a wetsuit and extension, and you need to dive with it. Then definitely you have to change the width of it. So yeah, there you go. And one other thing is, if you look at the bracelet, of course you feel the heft of the Yacht-master. You do feel that this is a more luxurious timepiece in every way. The finishing quality, the platinum dial, the way it shines. But if you look at the bracelet as well and you compare them, that high polish really does make a difference. I think that high polish does make it stand out a little. The high polish makes it seem special, and at the same time it is more purposeful, I must say. If you're buying a luxury timepiece and the purpose is to be a luxury timepiece for you to enjoy, you can consider the Rolex Yacht-master.